Hello, we're live and welcome to LinkedIn Uncovered. Thank you so much for joining us live or if you're watching the replay. LinkedIn Uncovered is a show in which I look to explore LinkedIn strategies that can help you to gain the attention of your ideal clients on LinkedIn. Whether you're live or on the replay, please leave comments and we'll aim to answer them as we go along. Today, we're going to be discussing brand building on LinkedIn. So I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Maria Malik, who has done just this and has a very strong following on LinkedIn. So welcome, Maria, if you'd like to introduce yourself and what you do.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Philip. I'm really excited and I can't wait to share everything that I've learned in the past couple of years. So if you don't know who I am, hi everyone. My name is Maria Malik. I am a corporate speaking coach and I specifically help introverts overcome their fear of public speaking, give amazing presentations, and really help them excel at impromptu speaking. I've been doing this for almost 3 years now. Absolutely love it. It's been so much fun and I feel like I found my calling and I'm so excited to do this every day. So very nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you for joining me today as well. The reason I wanted to bring you on, I love your content. I think it's very varied, lots of videos, obviously, which is pretty key to building a brand. And
Yes.
Secondly, I like the way that you've carved out, a niche on LinkedIn. It's very, very specific. So it'd be great if you could share some of your insights today as we go along. That would be brilliant for all of us. First thing I want to ask is how and when did you get to start building your brand on LinkedIn? You obviously just said 3 years, but what did you sort of do first?
Great question. So even though I've been doing this for 3 years, it was only last year that I started LinkedIn, but we'll talk about that in a second. So the first thing that I did was I had quit my job and I was like, you know what? I know there's something better out there. I'm going to quit my job and figure this out. So I first started on YouTube and I was just making videos. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was just kind of making videos and just putting out content and just seeing what happens. And to be honest, nothing happened on YouTube. I was getting maybe 10 views out of those 5 were maybe my family members. So there was nothing going on there. Then I started dabbling a little bit in Instagram. I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe YouTube is too saturated. Let's go on to Instagram. Started dabbling a little bit in there. It was going okay, nothing great. And then eventually, I figured out what I wanted to do, create my program. I hired a coach, created my program. And then she was very heavily focused on YouTube as well. But I had a friend at that time that was on LinkedIn and he was like, hey, you know what? Based on what you're doing, you should really hop onto LinkedIn. And I had no experience on LinkedIn. I hadn't touched LinkedIn in 10 years. So I was like, okay, fine. I started dabbling a little bit on LinkedIn, just posting content here and there. And then it came to a point where I was juggling YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I even started a TikTok and LinkedIn. And what I had noticed was that even though I was posting here and there on LinkedIn, I was still getting maybe 75 of my clients from LinkedIn, the few that I was. So I was at a point in my life and my career or my business that I knew that, okay, you know what? This is 2 years after. I was like, if I don't make it this year, I was like, I need to go back and get a job because it just wasn't sufficient.
Right.
I wasn't able to, just afford even just like rent and stuff. So I was like, I knew something had to change. And then I gave myself 6 months. I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself 6 months. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop wasting my energy on everything else. So I quit YouTube, I quit TikTok, I quit Instagram. And last year, January, literally January 2022, I went all in. When I say all in, like every ounce of my energy went into LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And 5.5 months later, I completely blew up and I hit 100K followers. Not only that, my business completely blew up. I was getting more clients than I can handle. I had to completely revamp, change my business model, change my course so that I could take on more clients. And it's been a crazy year. I had so many great things happen. And here I am today. So I've found my place. LinkedIn it
Yeah.
is. I don't even touch anything else now.
Well, it's a bit like you focusing in on introverts. You focused in on one platform where, basically corporate employees, you can find them on LinkedIn, obviously. Other platforms are more B2C, so it's trickier because it's their sort of personal stuff where, on LinkedIn, you can find them quite easily with search, but obviously through, primarily is been through content for yourself, inbound marketing rather than outbound. So moving on, what are the key elements to building a personal brand? What was the sort of turning point? Was there something you specifically did that, apart from focusing all your energy into it and say, giving yourself pretty much a deadline, so super focus, was there, what was the sort of foundational work that you did to turn it around?
Great question. So I think one of the biggest things was when I was dabbling with LinkedIn, people were telling me, hey, you have to tell stories, you have to tell stories. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't understand. Tell a story. Like, what do you mean? So I started looking at what other creators were doing, especially the posts that were going viral. And I started studying each one of them. And I found like a formula where they were telling a story and then they had a nice photo. And I was like, okay, let me try that. So before I had done that, I remember it was exactly January 22 that I posted my story. But before that, I was posting content, like I was making videos, and I was starting to get a little bit of traction. But when I posted my story with a photo, and it took me like 2 weeks to write my story because it was very well thought out. And it was also a very heavy story that's not like easy to share. So I spent a lot of time crafting my story. And I took like maybe 10 photos before I decided, okay, this is the one. This represents me, who I am today. I literally took it like the day before with my own little selfie camera and like everything. So I posted it, and to my surprise, it got almost 2 million views. And that's really that was the first time I posted it. The second time I posted it, which was a few months later, it got 20 million views. So exact same story, exact same content, a few months apart. And that's really what kickstarted, I guess it got me in front of more people, and the right people found me through that as well. Because even during that viral post, I talk about how I'm an introvert. And I think that's what's the most important thing about branding and just LinkedIn. Instead of chasing clients and finding your people, create content that's going to attract the right audience to you. And that's really been my game plan from the beginning. And that's what's worked for me.
Yeah, well, the research was key because obviously it helped to identify what strategy you should be doing. But obviously, a bit of bravery to share a story that's obviously quite personal as well. So yeah, hats off for that. Some of the, obviously you've identified the introverts, and obviously as an introvert, you've walked in their shoes, so what it's like to try and get that career progression. Being in meetings and being quiet, and just having great ideas but not having the sort of courage at a particular time to speak out. So walking in someone's shoes. But obviously, people talk about what's your unfair advantage. So what would you say? The fact that you were an introvert as well and you'd walked in their shoes, is that really your sort of superpower, or your the thing that's the why you?
I think it is. And I think that's what makes my brand stand out, and that's what makes it stick and gets the right people to me. Everything that I teach people is something I have already been through. So I've experienced it. I've gone through the trials and error, the embarrassment. I've done the unthinkable in front of us, like thrown up, like everything. You know what I mean? So I think people really connect with me because of that, because I tell them these stories. I'm like, hey, I was about to go into a huge executive meeting and I had to do a presentation. I dropped coffee all over myself right before. So I think because I'm sharing my real life experiences, I think that somehow it just made people feel like, hey, okay, I'm being heard and seen. Like I go through that as well. Nobody talks about it. So as embarrassing as some of the stories are, letting people know, hey, I've been through it. You can get out of it. Like there is, light at the end of the tunnel.
You're the shining example because you're so confident. Well, certainly from where I'm sitting or standing, you're so confident at coming on here, and doing your master classes all the time, etc. So yeah, things are tricky, but they can be overcome. with guidance sometimes to get there.
Yeah.
And
And Philip, I
so you,
will
you
say this is like completely out of my comfort zone, especially when I first started going live, getting on
yeah,
video, sharing personal stories, completely out of my comfort zone. And I know it is like that for most introverts, but the thing is, I've been doing it now for a year and it's become so easy. Now it's just like, okay, I have a
yeah,
live. All right, let's go. And there's not a lot of prep work that I need to do anymore. Whereas before, it would take me an hour just to plan out, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to do this? What are the questions I'm going to ask? So it is practice as well, but you have to also know what you're doing. So they kind of go hand in hand.
and it's taking that first step, because if you don't take that first step, you're not going to get anywhere.
You're not
Um,
going to get better. Mhm.
not going to get better, that's for sure. So generally for sort of personal brand, it's finding your sort of superpower, the why you, positioning statement, finding the people that you want to reach out to, what you're going to help them with, and what's your solution for that pain point. So generally it's about why you, why the company, and why the solution. So for yourself, it's probably more why you and why the solution, because for employees, for like I work with sales teams, and they have to include the why the company as well, because obviously they're part of a bigger thing. So it depends who you are, and obviously the story. Um, Obviously the story was massively important for you to generate, but for everyone else, how important do you think having an engaging brand story is?
I think it's very important, especially in the world of online social media nowadays. It is kind of a way of hacking the system, right? So hacking the algorithm. You have to have an engaged audience. And the only reason I think why people engage with you is they find something relatable, or they
Yeah,
find something that they like. So again, another reason why it's so important to share stories. We're human beings at the end of the day. It doesn't matter, maybe AI will take over one day and we'll be giving speeches to robots or something. I don't know. But
I
right
hope
now,
not.
at the end of the day, I know I hope not. But right now, at the end of the day, we're all still human beings and we connect on human behavior. So, based on human behavior, stories have been a thing that has been going on for so long. It was how generations passed along their culture, their religion, and everything. It's all through storytelling of this happened and
Yeah,
that happened. So it makes sense. It makes sense now that I think back to it.
yeah, yeah. Well, your story was more to do with an incident, whereas stories can also be really about your purpose and why you do what you do. So it doesn't, for me, for instance, I don't have a massive point in time that something happened. It's more, for me, it's about helping people, and specifically with helping people with Sales Navigator, because it's a tool that many people try and they say, oh, it didn't work. And it's, what I'm thinking in my head is, you didn't actually spend the time to find out how to use it. And that's
Mhm.
why, people can reach out for that. But yeah, stories, facts tell, stories sell. So there's
Exactly.
a
There
reason
is
for
one more thing, Philip, I wanted to say, because I don't want people to feel discouraged if they don't have like this big story to tell. First of all, I do think everybody has a story. When you really start digging into it, everyone has a story and you have to know how to tell it. But the other thing is, if you don't have a story, there's so many stances that you can take. Like, for example, I went viral like a couple of times, even on other posts where I wasn't telling, a story.
that. Hmm.
Like there was this one picture that I put up. I was in Dubai and I took a photo on top of like the Burj Khalifa. It has like wings on it, and they were charging $100 for the photo. So that was something controversial because most people would not pay $100 for a photo when you can take a photo yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that I posted that. I was like, I was on top of the Burj Khalifa. I paid $100 for this photo. Here is the photo. This is why I did it. And even something like that, something that is a little bit controversial, like a lot of people were like, why would you do that? That's like insane. And then the
yeah,
other half were saying, of course, like it's her money. And if she wants to do it, it's her experience. Let her do it. Why do you
yeah,
care? So just getting people talking, even that one got like over, I think I got like 1.5 million views. So it's not just stories, but also posting things that get people to start engaging and talking about it. That makes a difference too.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. Um, What activities on LinkedIn are necessary for growing a strong personal brand on LinkedIn? Obviously, you've mentioned a lot of content, but what other things should people be sort of looking at doing?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Number one, I do want to still say content. Like you have to create
Yeah,
content. If you're not creating content in 2023, then what are you doing? Like you have to create content. Unfortunately, that's the only way because the content creation puts you in front of your audience. That's number one. The second thing is, and I don't think anyone talks about this as much, and this is something I did, it's actually building authentic relationships with people because my story would not have gone viral if I didn't have so many people backing me up. Like I had built so many relationships. And when I posted that story, I let some of these people know, hey, I'm posting my story. Can you guys please give me like a little bit of support on this? This is very hard for me. So a lot of these people, some of them had following, some of them didn't. A lot of these people were like, yeah, of course. So they kind of helped me boost that story even more. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? So building a community, building authentic connections is a big one. And another way that you would build authentic connections is by learning about other people, commenting on them. I think that's how me and you met. We were just commenting on each other's posts and then you
yeah,
messaged me and here we are today, right? So it's a lot about that building genuine connections. So create content, build genuine connections and actually have conversations on LinkedIn. It's going to take you very far.
yeah. To add to that, being, I follow a set system, being a sort of logical, strategic person. Having an optimized LinkedIn profile is important because obviously people will go back to the sort of landing page of your profile to sort of find out who
Mhm.
you are, what you can help with, looking for credibility, recommendations, your featured section to see, to do the research. Um, Obviously, content's a big thing, and can give you massive reach. Commenting is something that you've mentioned as well, but being an outbound marketing person, messaging and having reaching out to people with a reason, a real reason to sort of reach out is important. And within the message, giving the context of why you're reaching out, because obviously messaging gets a lot of bad sort of press of spam because people don't use it in the right way. And a lot of it is
Yeah.
about collecting insights about people, and so when you do reach out, there's sort of relevancy, and they know why you're reaching out, and it isn't spam. So that's what I would add. But I'm an outbound marketing
I
person,
agree.
so I would say that.
Yeah, no, of course. That makes perfect sense. I think before I started creating content, I first optimized my profile because, like you said, it is a landing page and people, the content and the likes and the engagement is going to drive traffic to your page. If your page isn't ready, people are not going to know who you are, what you do, what you stand for,
Yeah,
and what the next steps are. So yes, of course, profile is the first thing, and then you start with everything
yeah,
else.
definitely. So how much this is an interesting one because well, I think it's interesting. How much of your time do you focus on your company, Sincerely Maria, compared to your personal brand, Maria Malik?
Great question. I feel like for me, they're the same. They're one and all. My LinkedIn, my personal brand, my company, it's all tied in so like perfectly together because everything that I teach, again, a lot of the stories, examples I give on LinkedIn are tied back to my clients. So they're both just connected. I do split my time 50-50 between both because I need them both to
Hmm.
operate and run my business. So I guess just going back to your question, it's just 50-50. So I spend maybe 2-3 hours a day on LinkedIn, and then I'll spend 2-3 hours a day with either my clients or creating content and all of that stuff. So that's usually my
Right.
day, Monday to Friday.
I was actually more meaning your company page rather than the company aspect.
Oh, my company page.
So
Oh,
that
zero.
bad question. Yeah,
Zero.
yeah. Well, basically, I looked at your company page and thought, yeah, Maria's completely. But the thing is, it for me, when I'm speaking with clients, you need to have a company page because people do research. They're going to look at your profile, they're going to look at your company page, and they're going to look at your website. So they're going to do the research and then make a, I think there's a stat that says 67% of all research is done before someone will reach out. So, having
Yeah.
tick boxes of those things for obviously bigger companies, company pages are more important because that then can be the sort of focus for sharing of content. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
the bottom line is though, relationships are, person to person. So your LinkedIn profile is
Mhm.
always going to be the place that you're going to build the sort of real relationships. So yes.
Absolutely. I do want to add to that. So, a company page, it's great to have, but at the end of the day, you still should be focusing on your main page as well. Because, yes, people will find you through your real page and then they'll do their research, they'll consume your content, they'll do all of that stuff. So, I do think company pages, yes, they're okay, but I don't spend any time on it just because for me, like my company has become my actual LinkedIn page. So, I think that's
Mhm.
why I just focus on that 100%. But you also have to know your clients, right? And you also have to know what you're offering. So for me and what I'm offering, it's a service-based business. You're working with me directly. That's why all my efforts are on my personal page.
Yeah. I'm going to take some comments because I've been ignoring them. I've been not ignoring them, but yeah, I
Sure.
should have. So Nadia, have a content engagement strategy too. Hi Maria, home Philip. I'm learning a lot. So Nazel's learning a lot. There's quite a lot of comments for LinkedIn to work in business, traffic conversion and retention, drive traffic with content and visibility, convert with an optimized LinkedIn profile, and retain with content. So that comes from Nadia again. I would add, a messaging strategy as well, because if people have shown interest, buyer intent, then the sort of the money's in the follow up as well. So if there's people that are showing interest, then keep in touch with them, because the stat that I sort of tell clients is 3% of people are actively looking for what you're offering right now. Only 3%. Another
Mhm.
7% can be persuaded to have a conversation. So there's only 10% of the audience of your ideal clients that are actually looking to buy or can potentially buy right now. So keeping in touch with them in a non-spammy, value-adding and insight providing way is important, which obviously you can do through
Absolutely.
content as well as messaging, pointing people at content, etc. So yeah, it's a big mix of things that you need to do, or to sort of maximize the opportunity. Any tip
Yes.
for intro extroverts? That's coming from,
Intro extroverts.
what's that, Maria?
Well, I mean, yeah, I know, right? I mean, there are people that are in between, and there are people, depending on the environment and who they're in front of, they'll be more introverted or extroverted.
Yeah.
But for me, I think that if you feel like you're somewhere in the middle, really know like who are you around? Because if you are around people that you feel like you can talk more, that just means you're a little bit more relaxed and you trust them more. Whereas if you feel a little bit more introverted in front of people, an ambivert, just like Nadia saying, it means again, it depends on which situation and environment you're in. So if you have any specific questions about introverts or extroverts or ambiverts in the corporate world, I think it's actually great to be an ambivert in the corporate world, because when it comes time to being around people, networking, those, you know, happy hour parties and all that, that's great for that time. But at the same time, when you're on your own, you can still recharge and get all of your work done. So I think it's great being an ambivert. If you're in the middle, that's awesome. But if you have any specific questions, Ahmed, about that, do let me know. I'd love to answer it for you.
So where would you say you are? Are you 100% introvert? Because I personally think that everyone's in between somewhere. And what would you say you are?
No, I'm 100% an
You can't be
introvert. Like, this is my life.
100.
I am 100%. So, okay, I think some people are confused between what an introvert and extrovert is. An introvert is someone that loses energy as as the day goes on. An extrovert gains energy as they interact with people in social interactions. So, for me, literally after this call, I'm probably just going to go sit there, watch some TV. I'm going to need time to recharge. I don't go out. This is my life. I'm in my apartment. And I mean, yes, I put myself out here on LinkedIn and I get a lot of those comments. How can you be an introvert if you're doing all of this? But like I said, it's very out of my comfort zone, but it's
Mhm.
something I'm doing because I want to challenge myself and I want to push myself, but I know my limits too. So I won't do more than 1 live a day. I won't take more than 2 meetings a day because I know that's all the energy I have. After that, I'm going to need to recharge. So one of the things I teach my clients, like you have to know where to exert your energy and what's important and what's not, and how to organize your time better.
Mhm.
What would you say you are, Philip? Are you more of an introvert or extrovert?
I'm more introverted, but I'm probably, well, more in the middle, but more towards introverted, definitely, than extroverted. I like, like observing, and then, I do observe rather than, but, it really depends, because sometimes when, you know, you've got a lot of value to add, I'll be the first one to chip in with stuff, because, I know that it's
Good.
value and it's going to help people. But yeah, I'm not 100% introverted, but I'm more probably leaning to that side than extrovert. That's where I am.
Awesome. Good. Very nice. That helps.
Yeah. Well, it's this is doing something like this, because I haven't done one for a wee while, and it does put you outside your comfort zone, because you've got the tech, and then you've obviously, running the, being the sort of host, is, well, I find it much harder than being the guest. Being the guest is great. You're just sort of having to answer questions and not worry about anything else. So I find that much easier.
Oh, that's funny, because I feel the opposite. I feel like it's easier asking the questions. You just ask the questions, sit back and wait and watch. But that's so
Right.
interesting. For me, it's like the opposite.
Really? Okay. I don't know what that means, but I suppose we're just different. No, I think I feel more of a responsibility when you're sort of running it, rather than if you're the guest. Then if something goes wrong, then it's up to someone else to sort
Ah,
it.
I see. I see what you mean.
I think. Okay, for those on the fence, what are the sort of key benefits for growing a personal brand on LinkedIn? For you can talk about it from an employee point of view, but also from a business owner point of view, because you've obviously got experience of both.
Yes. So I think people underestimate the power of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool, and there's nothing like that out there. Yes, it's become a social media tool as well. That's just added to its greatness already. And the great thing, and if you're on the fence still, here is the thing: the whole social media aspect of LinkedIn is so new. So this is a great time for you to start. That means less competition. That means more eyeballs on your post. That means better way of standing out, because if in the next 5 years it's not going to be like this, it's going to turn into Instagram where everybody's creating content, and it'll be very hard to grow a following, get in front of the right people, and grow your business or whatnot. So if you're still on the fence, I'm telling you right now is the best time, because the longer you wait, the more competition there's going to be, and it's just easier right now, and it's going to be easier to go viral. It's easier to find the right people. And the other thing is LinkedIn, I think I read a statistic, it's only about 3 to 5% of users on LinkedIn actually create
Yeah.
content. So that's huge. So if you're thinking about it, you're still on the fence, I'm telling you, right now is the time. Forget all other platforms. I had to do that, because being an introvert, like putting my energy into everything meant nothing was working.
Yeah.
So I got rid of everything, focused just on this, and just 6 months, it completely, like when I say it changed my life, it changed my life.
Yeah. People do spread themselves too thin, and that's one of the sort of major sort of issues that people do. They think, oh, I need to have an account for all of them, and then they then have to sort of tweak their content, and they don't lose the focus for one.
It's more
Go
work.
Well, it's more work, and you put your efforts. I will say, basically, get one thing working really well, then move on to another thing, rather than
Yes.
trying to do even different strategies. If you've not got a huge amount of time,
Instead
get
of
something
dabbling at
working.
all. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
absolutely. LinkedIn is the best place, especially it depends on what you're doing too, but
Yeah.
LinkedIn is a great place for most businesses.
Yeah, B2B, especially B2B, consistency is also key to growth in whatever you put your mind to. That's Nadia again. Nadia's commenting a lot. She's obviously enjoying this. Most content will be AI generated in a few years. Yeah, that's one thing. It's what are your thoughts on AI?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I've been playing around with it. I'm trying to see, okay, what kind of content can I create with it? So it has helped me, like ChatGPT has helped me think of ideas and it does point me to the right direction. But anything I get off of there, I still have to edit. I still have to read through and make it sound more like me. So I think it's great. It's a great tool. I feel like we should be using it. It'll help you save time, energy, all of that. But it's not just like copy paste. That's not gonna work.
No.
You have to still put in your own touch to it, especially if you're trying to build a brand, because your brand is you. It's how you sound, the colors you use,
Yeah.
the way that you look, and the way that you show up. All of these things matter when it comes to your brand. So,
Well,
AI, I don't see it completely taking over, but I do see it being a big part of content creation in the future.
I've used it a little bit for research, but a brand is about uniqueness, and your regurgitated content from around the net is not going to provide that sort of differentiation, that value and insights that buyers want. 74%,
Exactly.
70.
Yes, Philip, actually, there's a question here by Sunjoy that I really want to answer.
Okay.
Do you mind if I
No,
answer
on you
it?
go. Yes.
Yeah, so he's asking, Sanjoy is asking, how do you start in LinkedIn brand building? What are the steps? What are the do's and don'ts for perfect brand building? So he's asking that. And I think that's a great question because, first of all, there is no perfect brand building. Because when I first started, I had no idea. Even on LinkedIn, I didn't know exactly who I was helping. And after a while, after tweaking, after working with people, I realized, oh, these are my best clients. These are the people that I want to work with. And that's how you tweak and make your brand better. So the first thing you do, of course, just like Philip mentioned, if you're starting your brand, fix up your profile because that's going to be your landing page. That's going to be your website before anything. Fix up your profile. Make sure you use consistent colors because people associate colors with brands. So if you're going to use black and white, use black and white for everything. If you're going to use green and blue, use green and blue for everything. So consistently show up with those same colors because people will start associating those colors with you. The way that you speak, that's going to make a difference too. If you want to be like Gary Vee, very, relaxed type of approach, make sure you do that for everything. Make sure your editing is similar. So don't play around with different colors, different formats, keep it consistent and until you build a brand, then you can always play around. Some of the don'ts that I wanted to point out is don't try to help everybody. I think that's one of the biggest problems I see with people.
Yeah.
Because I get so many messages, people ask me, why don't you help extroverts too? You'll help more people. I was like, no, that's not how it works. You have to really niche down, find the people you want to help and just focus on them. That's going to be what's going to make your brand stand out. People right now know if you're an introvert, you have a fear of public speaking, they know I'm the person to help them. So you have to pick your people, pick your niche and stick to it.
No,
I hope that answers your question, Sanjoy.
it is about identifying, the starting point is who's the buyer? Who am I helping? What am I helping them with? And, you've niched it down to introverts, and offering the sort of public speaking and career progression. So those are real sort of skills and outcomes. And that's what people want.
Mhm.
People want the result that you can provide them with. So yeah, absolutely. I always, I've got a system called the Boost system, and it starts with buyer. Who's your buyer? What are their
Yes.
pain points? What can you help them with? So it all starts from the buyer, because if you don't have that, then you're stabbing in the dark. You're stabbing in the dark. All
Yes.
your messaging, positioning is all going to be wrong. It's going to be wrong for most of the people out there. As niche as possible.
Yes. And Philip, one more thing, something that I did, and this is something my business coach told me to do. Before you start your business, before you start selling, after you create your profile, start interviewing some of your potential clients because you're going to learn so much by actually talking to them. Get on a call with them, talk to them, ask them questions like, hey, what issues do you have, or what are the challenges that you have? What are some ways that you feel like you can get better? What are some ways of learning? Do you prefer video? Do you prefer audio? Because everyone and every type of person likes to work differently.
Hmm.
So that's really big too. Talk to your audience, get to know them, your potential buyers, because they will tell you exactly what they need. And then when you create your program, you create your offer, make sure it's tailored exactly to that person,
Yeah.
because then it's actually going to work.
Yeah, you're give the audience what they want. It's as simple as that.
Exactly.
But you need to find out
Exactly.
what your audience wants, what they need help
Mhm.
with, and that's your solution to help them to achieve that. Um,
Absolutely.
so here's one. Looking back in your own journey, what could you have done better or sooner for your personal brand? I think, well, based on what you've already said, is focusing in on just LinkedIn itself would be one of them. Is there any more?
I would have started sooner. Like, I wouldn't have waited, because I think before I actually quit my job and started to do this, I was thinking about this for almost 5 years. And I wasted, I think, 5 years just thinking about it and just watching other people do it and just researching. And, I didn't take any action. So start now. Like I said, the longer you wait, the more time you're wasting. So if I could go back, I would have started. If I could have, I would have started like as soon as LinkedIn launched, content creation. So that's one of the biggest things. I wish I had started earlier, because I think by now I would have been 10 years ahead. Obviously, right? The more experience, the
Yeah,
more work you do,
yeah.
the further you go.
You've got to be sort of grateful and thankful for where you are, because you're in a good position. You've got a great following, and
Yeah.
you're making a good living, just on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and a good impact. I think that's so important too. I think you have to have purpose in what you do. If you're just doing it just to make money, or if you're just doing it because you don't know what else to do, then it's not going to work. You're not going to last. If you really want to build a brand that's going to stick, that's going to last, and that you're invested in, it has to be something you're passionate about.
Yeah,
So that makes a huge difference.
passionate and good at.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Passion is not enough.
I'm passionate about flying a plane, but I've never done one before. Who wants to give me a go?
Oh gosh. Don't. I would not get on a plane then with you if you're just
What?
passionate
That's
about
unbelievable. No trust. Ask you on it. You don't even trust. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, I wouldn't trust me in a plane either.
it.
What would you say is
No,
the number one mistake you see other people making on LinkedIn? So the number one.
I think one of the biggest mistakes, there's a couple, but one that I see is being not consistent. And I know everyone talks about consistency. I used to hate hearing that too. Be consistent, be consistent. I'm like, why? Why do I have to put out so much content? Why? That's so much work. But it really does make a difference. It makes a difference for your audience because they see more of your content, they consume more of it. And I think it also makes a difference with any algorithm. So obviously the algorithm rewards you if you are posting consistently. If you're posting 5 days a week, it's going to know that, hey, you keep showing up. So it rewards you. It gets you more in front of the people that you should be in front of. So that's the biggest mistake I see. I'll see people post once or twice and then they disappear, or I'll see them do like maybe one live and then I'll never see them again. So it is consistency. And you know what? It's not easy, because if everyone knew how to be consistent, then everybody would have millions of followers.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And everyone would be super successful. So figure out how you can be consistent in your brand building, whichever way you're going to do it. But that is what's going to get you so far, because you learn so much from it too. I always go back the last 30 days. What did I do well? What did people like? What did they not like?
Yeah,
It gives you more data as well. And you have to look at your data to get better.
auditing yourself and your performance is important,
Hmm.
definitely. I would say
Yeah.
positioning. I would say that people are too general, as many people
Yes.
are, and they don't differentiate themselves. Another
Hmm.
same. So focusing on what you're good at and how you differentiate yourself from others that are doing something similar. There's got to
Yes.
be a why to use you.
I think one more thing is people don't listen to their audience. So this is a great example. When you go live, people ask you questions and now you know, okay, these are the things that people need help with, or these are the things that people want from you. So I build most of my content off of that, the questions people ask me,
Yeah.
right? So that's why you have to show up, you have to listen to your audience. They're going to tell you everything that they need, and you have to be the one to listen and execute it.
I think one thing because I obviously look at your content as well and like your content, you're very good at answering, the comments. You see a lot of people that have got a big following that do about two and then don't bother, and that, and I think that sort of shows the type of person that you are. That you're looking to sort of genuinely engage and build relationships. When yes, it's easy to, it takes time. It takes time to respond, but ultimately, it shows that you actually care about the people that are, taking their time to comment on your stuff.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for every single one of my audience members, followers, anyone that's connected with me, anyone that takes out that time. It does take time for people to stop and comment. So I try my best to tell them that I appreciate it and I try to answer their questions. I even DM some of the people and say, "Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the love and support."
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way. I feel like most people don't do that, but you have to appreciate what you have in order to have more, or just enjoy what you have in the moment as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's that person to person relationship. It's something that's real, rather than
Yeah.
doing it for the sake of ticking a strategy box.
Exactly.
That I've only got one final question. Are there any final tips you'd like to leave us with?
Final tips. I think one more thing is I think most people, they don't tap into their creativity. So one more thing that I feel like sets me apart, especially last year, the things that I did, and I was like, I have to start doing more of that. I experimented a lot with content. Like one day I would do a day in my life. So I was thinking, like I was getting content off of TikTok. I was like, what's doing good on
Mhm.
TikTok? Let's see if this does good on LinkedIn too. I would try it. Some things did good, some things did not do good at all. So experiment as well. Like once you figure out what works, don't just stick to it because people change and people have
Yeah.
different expectations. Things change. So experiment and see, hey, maybe my audience likes picture posts more. Maybe my audience likes video posts more. I did a recent poll recently where I asked people, what is the best way that you like learning from me? Is it newsletter? Is it video? Is it audio? So the results that I got was, people want more video. They want more master classes. So I brought back my master
Yeah.
classes. I'm doing more videos now. I think people are getting tired of my picture posts, and the picture posts had the least amount of views, and that's what used to do the best. So I was like, okay, less pictures. So experiment, keep in touch with your audience. They're going to tell you what they want. Like I said, that's like the best thing. But yeah, do experiment, try different things. If one thing doesn't work, try something else. You have to be persistent. And one thing will work eventually. If you try 10 things, one of them will work. And I think that's one thing that I did last year. I tried everything and I was like, what is working? This works. Okay, more of this.
I think you also need to vary the content, because if people see exactly the same thing over and over and over again, they get bored. And
Yes,
it's
exactly.
rotating the different types of content that show you know who you are and how you can help, and sharing that sort of personalization, the person behind all this as well, a bit of that.
Mhm.
So that's coming up for 45 minutes. So this is one of my longer ones. So very good for you to drop in, Maria. So to the viewers on the live and to those watching replay, if you're needing help with overcoming your fear of public speaking, here she is. Reach out to Maria. She's running a masterclass this Saturday coming, 7 p.m. BST, 2 p.m. EST, and 11 a.m. PST. I've done my conversions. Hopefully they're right.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's okay. To all of you, many thanks for tuning in. I hope you've picked up some useful insights, and hopefully we'll see you again on the next episode of LinkedIn Uncovered. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Philip, for having me. And thank you for everyone that's watching.